Essentially the same unappreciative crowd full of scumbags from last night.
Taking over me, and I can hardly breathe. I need a problem solver, someone to cure my sorrow. It's taking over me, and I can't feel her breathe. This hate is so contagious, sometimes I cannot take it.
Hey wrestling fans, welcome to this week's edition of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast, episode number 80. My name is Sean, coming to you from London, Ontario. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, or any of the other 12 outlets that you can get your podcast from. This week's edition of the show is going to be divided into two, because we were guests at Midwestern Wrestling in Listowel, Ontario. We did a road trip and did our predictions and talking about the first show and running down the card. We also did our predictions for AEW Full Gear, which was happening on Saturday night as well. Throughout the evening, we also did some Facebook Live cut-ins before the show, during the intermission, and after the show. So you'll definitely want to check out our Scumbags Wrestling page to see those videos. We wrapped up our evening with a ride home, talking about what we had just seen and reviewing the whole card. So that's going to take up this week's first part of the episode. In our second part, we'll look at the Ontario wrestling calendar and everything that happened in NWA, AEW with Dynamite and Full Gear, plus WWE as they get off of Crown Jewel and move forward towards Survivor Series. So I'll be right back after these short messages. Are you looking to get into the wrestling business? Well, look no further than the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory, located right here in London, Ontario. Tyson has over 20 years of experience in the wrestling world, and he's even been brought down to the WWE Performance Center to be a guest trainer. We've already seen the likes of Jordan James, Kyle Boone, Violet Lee, Jim Strider, Pharaoh Bowman, Chris Mitchells, and many more. Plus, the new generation that are coming from the second group, such as Josh Pine, Shiloh, Nova, Frankie Ward, and many more. You don't want to miss your opportunity to learn from one of the best in Ontario, if not all of Canada, or the world, in Tyson Dukes. So that's the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory. It's open Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and located at 309 Exeter Road here in London.
You hear the rumble in here? The rumble is the sound of progression, and fundamentals are being made at the Wrestling Factory. This is Tyson Dukes, and you're listening to the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast, y'all.
Yes, we are on the road to Listowel for the very first ever Midwestern Wrestling event happening tonight. Doors open at 6 o'clock. First bell at 7 o'clock. It's happening at Parkview Gardens in Listowel, and we're going to run down the card. Also want to give a shout out for Doug, invited me to be his guest for today, and we got Chris Maloney from the Sharpshooter podcast, we got Stephen O'Neill, and we got
Daniel back
in the back as well. Daniel, are you still there?
Yeah, he peeked his head through.
There we go, he poked his head through. So hopefully you guys are watching. Either way, get on the road, join us. You still got time until 6 o'clock. Tickets are going to be at the door. Okay. Anyways, let's run down the card for this evening. And the first one is going to be the Muscle versus Ad Hutchinson. Seems to be a British version of the Muscle. What is your thoughts? Have you seen any of the promos that these two guys have done on the Midwestern Facebook page?
No, I am fairly new to Midwestern. I mean, along with everybody else.
Everybody is.
Yes, but as far as some of the names that you're going to announce that aren't part of Smash Wrestling out there, nope, they are new to me. So it's the first time experience. So I could say the Muscle, but that's going to be biased. So I'm gonna say this other guy. Who's this other guy in this one?
Ad Hutchinson.
Ad Hutchison.
From the UK.
So I'm gonna go with the UK guy. So Ad Hutchison there.
Daniel, what's your thoughts?
I'm going Muscle.
And Steven?
I'm going Ad Hutchinson. We're gonna go with some British Muscle.
I'm gonna say Sean's gonna say Muscle.
I like the Muscle. We're good friends.
Fucking animal crackers.
Animal crackers. You gotta go with the animal crackers with the Muscle, but I don't know this. Let's split the car. Let's go with the Muscle. I was leaning towards Ad, but you never know. Maybe jet lag from Ad Hutchinson coming over from the UK. Then we have a women's match. A lady that I don't want to insult how her name is actually pronounced.
I'll
but
say
it looks
Diva
like
with a Y.
Divya
or Diva with a Y.
She recently was on, I'm guessing it was a dark match for SmackDown.
No, it was
the actual show.
The Saudi Arabia delay. She fought
Tamina?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tamina and Divya went at so she's gotten some TV exposure. She's taking on local favorite Violet Lee. So guys, what are you
We got Josh Armstrong watching right now, so be careful with your
Josh.
words.
What are you thinking of Miss Violet Lee's chances today? Is she picking up the victory?
Daniel, you're first.
I'm going with Violet.
You gonna go with Violet?
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
I'm going, sorry Violet, but with Divya. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Alright, I think go with Violet on this one, basically because of the fact of her somewhat announcement of, I guess, semi-retirement at this point. So I'm going to say any match that she wrestles in from this point forward is going to be a victory for her. So, Sean?
Yeah, I'm going with Violet Lee as well. I have no clue about this girl that, yes, we just did mention she was on SmackDown, but she got destroyed by Tamina pretty much. So, yeah, we definitely know the work of Violet Lee. And as you just mentioned, she is winding down a bit of her in-ring time just to take some priorities with finishing off school, which is an awesome idea.
I thought you were going to say fishing.
No, finishing off school.
Okay, that sounds
and, you know, she's done an amazing job raising family, doing this wrestling thing, working at a Tyson's factory, and going to school. It's year 4. Got to get that diploma finished up. Smart move, and we wish her the best, and look forward to seeing her back in the ring again very soon.
Kicking ass.
Then we have Psycho Mike Rollins, who you're saying was on vacation somewhere.
So he posted on Instagram that he was by himself on the beaches of Cancun, Mexico. So I don't know how long ago that was. I don't know if he's going to be back in time. If he's not there, it means he's enjoying the suns and the coronas down there in Mexico. But in saying that, Tarek was posting he was just over in Las Vegas, and he's going to be back for the show. So anything's possible.
Psycho Mike could be in Cancun in his head.
Very true.
Let's pretend like he's...
Maybe the conscience is there.
Yeah, he's not necessarily all with it. So let's just assume he's going to be there.
He could be using his magic lamp to get him back.
There we go.
But he's going against a gentleman named Karu. Steven has mentioned that he's seen him in PWA in Kitchener area, and also heard of him in PWA over in BC. Same organization, basically. So, Steven, you've seen him. What do you think is going to happen between him and Psycho Mike?
I'm going to go with Psycho Mike with probably the magic lamp somehow. Karu, from what I remember, it's a few years ago. He's about the same height as Psycho Mike. He's very much reminds me of the Barbarian. From anyone who's WWE or WWF vintage would know the Barbarian. That's who he reminds me of. That kind of
sort of a Native American from northern Canada.
Yeah, he's very. I don't want to say the berserker, but that type of off gimmick.
Cool. Daniel, your thoughts on Psycho Mike and Carew?
I'm going Psycho Mike.
Go with what we know.
All right,
Good plan.
I go with Psycho Mike as well. Just a huge fan of the guy. Although I might change my mind, 5 seconds, 10 seconds into this match. But for the time being, Psycho Mike. And just a public service announcement. We are in the back roads of going towards Huron County right now. So I'm not shaky. It's these roads and Sean's bad driving. So
There's no bad driving here.
Sean, who's your pick?
I am going with Psycho Mike. We all know how talented Psycho Mike is. Inside the ring and inside his mind. He's like all around a total package of wrestling right now. Like, he has the smarts, he's creative, so much creativity out of him, along with the fact that he's great in ring. So I gotta go with Psycho Mike.
How the hell did they do WWE Ride Along so friggin' still as far
Because
as the
they
camera
have it
goes?
mounted on the dashboard.
And they probably use a Garmin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just to recap, we are on our way to Listowel, Ontario for the first ever Midwestern Wrestling event happening today at Parkview Gardens. Doors open at 6 o'clock. First match at 7. Tickets are $20 at the door. There's limited tickets available. And they may or may not still be honoring the $50 for a pack of 4 for a family. But that's also potentially available. And it's Midwestern Wrestling's first event. Looking at the rest of the card.
Hold on. If anybody knows that Pizza Delight still exists up there, let us know.
Awesome. Pizza Delight. We might be stopping by. Hopefully we'll get a sponsor from you. Anyways, the Smash Wrestling Tag Team titles are actually going to be on the line. Now, if you saw some of the promos just that came out with Revolt, Jordan James needs to calm down on the Red Bull, maybe get a Snickers. He really wasn't himself. But he's just pumped up to team with Alec Realm, the Revolt, challenging Halal Beefcake, Joe Coleman, and Idris Abraham for the tag team titles. It's interesting to see that the Smash tag titles are on the line on a non-Smash card. Daniel, what's your pick for this one? Will we see new champions?
I'm going to have to go with the Revolt.
As in
He's
new
picking new
champions or winners?
New
Yeah.
champions.
New champs. All right, Steven, what about you?
I would love to see the Revolt win, but I'm going with Halal Beefcake.
All right, Sean?
Halal Beefcake has the experience, but if Jordan James is hyped up as much as he was in that video, I can see some new tag team champions, and we might be doing some special interview stuff today at the Parkview Gardens for the next edition of the production line. Cheap plug.
So anyways, I was thinking to myself, hey, wouldn't it be cool to see Halal get bumped up to, say, the big times? But then Sean was saying that there's another show coming up, maybe in St. Thomas soon, where we could see a rematch for the championship. So
November 23rd.
So could we see transitional champions? So that is going to be my pick on this one. I'm going to go with Revolt. Go with Daniel and Steven. Did you say, who'd you say?
I'm going with Halal Beefcake.
Okay, so you're on the opposite side.
I would love to see the Revolt win, but I'm going with the experience. I'm going Halal Beefcake.
Alright, so I'm going to go Revolt, new champs, and then rematch set up for St. Thomas. So that's
Which they're adding the pillars, Tarek and Brent Banks for, and we'll get into that in just a little bit, but that's their next Smash Wrestling event in St. Thomas. Looking at the rest of this card, I was part of the promo package.
Jesus.
There was a lot of birds. It just, I saw that. But I helped out with Kyle Boone's promo, with Josh Pine, sending a message to Tarek as they're going against each other tonight. Tarek's going to have a gentleman named Chris Kurtz. He's a local guy from Listowel, possibly involved with the nutrition supplement place that's a sponsor. Either way, we got Tarek, Mr. Punch Kick Chop, taking on the Wave Maker, Kyle Boone. Steve?
3 words. Punch, kick, chop. Done.
Daniel?
Tarek.
Alright, so for anybody who knows anything about my, I guess, fanness of Smash Wrestling knows there's only one other guy I like better than fucking Tarek, pardon my language, and that would be Kevin Bennett. But anytime Tarek's involved, it's always going to be a Tarek win, unless it's Bennett and then it's a 50-50 toss-up. So Tarek for the win in this one.
And I too, sorry Kyle, am going with Tarek. Just hopefully your chest doesn't get as beat up as Corey Stone's did by Tyson Dukes in Tilsonburg. Because Mr. Punch Kick Chop, he's going to live up to that name, and I don't know if Josh Pine's going to be able to bring you back to life, lifeguard or not. And that brings us to our main event, because I just mentioned Tyson Dukes. She's in a triple threat match with fellow pillar Sebastian Suave and Von Vertigo. Should be a hard-hitting match between these three. Some high flying out of Vertigo. Will the pillars ground them? Will the pillars end up battling each other? Who's picking up the victory in this triple threat match?
Daniel?
I'll go with Tyson.
Tyson for the win. Steven?
I am so torn between Tyson and Sebastian.
Yeah, same here.
But I think I'm going to have to go with Tyson. I think it's going to be a pillar 2-on-1, but I have a feeling Tyson's going to pull out the win in the end. I think it's too much for Mr. Von Vertigo.
So I'm going to go Sebastian in this one. The endorsement for the win. No reason given. Just I feel Seb's going to win this one. Sean?
I am going with the endorsement as well. Anything could happen.
Was that a thumbs up or was that an Orange Cassidy thing right there?
Oh, that's the thumbs up.
That's a real thumbs up, all right.
The endorsement. Hopefully he has my t-shirt that I won on his contest. I don't know. Gotta talk to him. But regardless of that, I am picking the endorsement, Sebastian Suave. I see Tyson getting a little bit distracted. He's got his focus on wanting to get into the NWA and go after Nick Aldis. Is that putting the cart before the cart before the horse? And Von Vertigo, he might be eating the pin. But I see Sebastian pulling out the victory. Maybe sneaking one by tossing Tyson out of the ring.
I think it's going to be a 2-on-1 beatdown.
Tyson might do the work, but Sebastian's going to pick up the victory. So that, once again, is MWW Midwestern Wrestling tonight, Listowel, Ontario. Get there. First match starts at 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6. $20 a ticket. You can't beat that. And let's support independent wrestling, new organization, and hey, we know a lot of these guys that are on the card anyway, so...
Hey, apparently they're feeding us, and you can do the meet and greets after the show.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah,
yes.
they said they got munchies going on, so Pizza Delight, please.
Awesome. And just to mention some of the sponsors for this, once again, thank you, Doug, for the invite, but some of the sponsors of the event include Pizza, The Laundry Room, McLean's Ales, so there's going to be alcohol there. It's an all-ages event, licensed, so... Parents, you can drink while your kids have fun with the wrestlers.
Sean's DD and
I'm DD and Healthy Computers, Dynafit, and Classic Rock 94.5. So Midwestern Wrestling, we're coming. We're going to be setting up our a table, maybe back on Facebook Live, doing some interviews. We'll see what all happens, but that's what's going on today. Shockstock 2020 is New Earth's biggest pop culture expo and film festival. The real end is near, as the outside world falls into chaos. Word of a sanctuary for mutants, freaks, goblins, and geeks spread throughout the land. 3 days of thrills and chills, with screenings, panels, celebrities, workshops, interactive fun, vendors, all-nighter parties, and more. Stay tuned for guest announcements and more info. Hello, do you or someone you know have a business that you'd love to have advertised here on our podcast? Well, give me a shout at our email address, scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, and let us know how we can help you advertise to the listeners of this podcast. We'll give your business a shout out, including information on how people can reach out to you and information on your services.
My name is The Muscle, Smash Wrestling's hottest free agent. I toss bodies and wheel hotties, and you're listening to the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast.
Also today, if you're not attending Midwestern Wrestling, you're probably trying to find a way of getting together with friends or staying at home watching AEW Full Gear. Some people have some interesting concepts and opinions of AEW, how they've done presenting themselves over the last couple of weeks. They're only, 5-6 weeks into their existence officially as with Dynamite. But, they
Are boring.
There we go.
Wait, what's boring?
Dynamite.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you saw this week's Dynamite, really the only thing that stuck out was, in fact, Cody's impassioned speech in the middle of the ring, which I'm trying to remember who it was, but I heard somebody say that's Cody's equivalent to his dad's speech of the common man that he had in the NWA. And Chris Jericho's spoof video, amazing,
Soul Train Jones.
Serving up some breadsticks from Olive Garden. And also, don't forget the neighbor of Chris Jericho's aunt.
From church, wasn't
From
it?
church, yes.
Yeah.
So, classic video, awesome spoof, everything that was done with that. However, as Steven pointed out before we turned on the video, kind of just there sort of thing. You gotta get the talent to work more matches than just once a week. However, with that said, whether you're watching AEW on a weekly basis, they do have a pay-per-view tonight, and we're going to run down the card, give some predictions. First up, we got a women's match with Bea Priestley taking on Britt Baker. They have a feud. Britt Baker was stopped by winning the title at the last pay-per-view because of Priestley, so they're going one-on-one. What do you think? Just pick somebody if you don't have an opinion.
I'm going Britt Baker.
You going Britt?
I'm thinking it's going to be the whatever her
The
mandible
dentist.
claw submission hold is.
Daniel, how about you?
No clue.
All right. So Britt Baker is actually Adam Cole's real-life girlfriend.
Baby.
Yeah, baby. So Daniel's going to take a pass on that. Sean, opinion?
I'm going to go with Britt Baker as well. They want to still put a rocket on her without giving her the title immediately. And, they're still going to build her up. So Britt Baker for the victory.
So correct me if I'm wrong there, Facebook world, but when you were talking about Britt Baker and who she's affiliated with, pretty sure that Bea Priestley is affiliated with this guy called the Aerial Assassin, otherwise known as Will Ospreay. So I'm going to go Will Ospreay side of this one. So Bea Priestley for the win, just to continue the feud and see what happens with that.
Next up, we got Sean Spears, who's going to have Tully Blanchard in his corner, going one-on-one against Joey Janela. Any idea, thoughts on how this match will unfold and who's going to pick up the victory?
Well, as my icon, Jim Cornette, would say, I would never go with Jelly. So, by elimination, I'm going with Sean Spears. But, dear God, I hope it's entertaining.
It's Joey Janela. It's bound to be entertaining.
No, not at all.
Joey
We
Janela.
call him Jelly for a reason.
Daniel, you went to Super Showdown 6 last year in Toronto.
Yeah.
You remember Joey Janela? He fought Tarek in the main event for the championship.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so do you remember any good thoughts about him?
No.
Okay.
Because he's Jelly.
Apparently Janela's jelly, so the bad boy reference doesn't mean anything at all. I think with Sean Spears, they're going to do something with him. Don't get me wrong, the gimmick's been great. You no longer see him as Ty Dillinger, but the fact is he doesn't have that main event vibe. He doesn't even have a mid-card vibe at this point. He comes out, wrestles the match, and goes home, and that's it. And it's like, what is this guy all about? And I think putting him against Janela tonight, you'll be able to see the real Sean Spears if there is any heart, left in him. So, not a knock against him. I just don't like the way AEW is building his character right now. But I'd love to see him pick up the win just to reestablish his character.
At least when he was Ty Dillinger, there was something entertaining. There is nothing entertaining right now about him, which is unfortunate because I want to be entertained by him. I don't understand Tully Blanchard with him.
It's like Gavin Spears all over again.
Yes. I want to like him. I want to hate him. Give me an option.
He's got a good look. You know he's got this skill. He's got fucking Tully Blanchard with him.
He's one of the Ontario Four Horsemen.
And yet he's being compared to Gavin Spears again.
I would love to want to watch that match. I would love to want to watch Sean Spears. But after what I saw on Thursday, I could sleep through that. They need to get something out of him. I don't know if it's just not connecting with Tully Blanchard. It's clearly how they're using him. They've got to get something.
So 2 of the 4 in this car agree. Sean, your thoughts?
I am going to go with Sean Spears. They need to, as we've just documented with you guys, do something with him. I'm not getting the connection either with Tully Blanchard and Sean. The initial hookup with them I could see, but then they've kind of just let that die off. Joey Janela, I saw him with Smash Wrestling with the Northern Tournament, and then, as you pointed out, Super Showdown. Not impressed, really. He's just generic wrestler B that likes using weapons and tacks and getting a staple gun to the head.
Yeah, I guess there's this guy named Mick Foley that he kind of used to do the same thing, that became world champion one day.
But Mick Foley had talent.
And personality. If I'm looking at Joey Janela, if he's just standing in the ring and keeping his mouth shut, I could be looking at the Brian Kendrick. For that
he
matter.
is called Jelly because of his body type. That is the nickname Jim Cornette gave him, and I love it.
So I might be the only Joey Janela fan in this car right now.
Maybe in the world, I think.
Maybe.
Never Joey Janela fan.
I'm going with Sean Spears, of course. So that brings us to Hangman Page, the former #1 contender for the AEW Championship when it was him and Jericho to decide the first one, taking on Pac, who, as we know, was Neville in WWE. He is on quite the winning streak. There was kind of a little botch in his match with Trent this week on AEW, but we got these two going head-to-head finally. That was supposed to happen almost a year ago. Thoughts on who's going to pick up the victory?
Guys, stop picking on the refs, by the way. If the ref wasn't one who made the mistake in the match this week. It was probably Trent who probably got his bell rung, so to speak. If you're going to pick on any ref at all in the business, the entire world, his name's Jay Smith, okay? It's the only ref in the world you're allowed to pick on. So leave the refs alone.
I would agree with you on what you just said. That wasn't the ref's fault. However, listen to Jimmy Corderas every day with the Ref and Rant, Monday through Friday, and almost all his recent rants have been about the poor officiating in AEW. Get your rules straight. Stop this, you can be in there for a 10 count. I'm going to hop out of the ring and be with you instead of giving you a 20 count outside the ring. I'm going to let you do a tag while you're standing beside each other in the center of the ring and make that an official tag. Get your rules straight and you present yourself as the sports side that you want to be, and not this whole entertainment bullshit that you're presenting yourself as right now.
There's Sean's rant right there.
And if the ref made a mistake, or Beretta was knocked out or injured, the ref should never stop counting. His shoulders are down, keep going.
Exactly.
Even if it's not the end. I've heard Jimmy Cornette say, if the shoulders are down, you still count. That's the wrestler's problem.
Meltzer and Alvarez made reference to the fact that unless it's a championship match, just count the friggin' pin. So, but anyways,
back to the match.
So, my pick is Pac. The reason for it, I want to see a heel turn by Adam Page. I want to see him go against Cody and the Bucks and Kenny Omega. So, I think to keep Page on a losing streak. And I know he won his previous match, but to keep him on a losing streak against Pac, I think would be phenomenal. So, Pac for the win in this one.
I'm going outside the box, double disqualification, because it will break down, and it is going to have to get thrown out because... Oh, wait, AEW doesn't throw anything out. My bad. I'm sorry. I forgot that they don't have rules. So I'm going Adam Page.
I'm going to go with... that it is a toss between the two because, Page needs the victory, but if Pac continues this momentum, he already said that he should have been one of the contenders for the title, not Cody. And if they're going to be true to their win-loss records meaning something, let's keep the momentum going with Pac, do some sort of losing story with Hangman. It kind of writes itself going forward to create some drama between the two with winning records and losing records.
But you are making sense.
I know.
So
I know.
AEW will go a different way.
Exactly, but I'm going with Hawk. Daniel, any comment?
I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay. No worries. The women's championship is on the line as Rio, a very good friend of Kenny Omega, who was at London Comic Con this past October with Kenny, is taking on her mentor, and that's Emi Sakura, one-on-one for the women's title. Picks, guys?
I'm going with Kenny Omega's girlfriend, Riho.
Daniel?
Riho, I guess.
I'm going to say Emi Sakura just for the fact that her theme music, for whatever stupid reason, is catchy. But
And she does a lot of Freddie Mercury cosplay.
yeah, it's whatever reason I was watching AEW this week, and I go and look, and I'm watching the match half wet, and I go and look, and the next thing I know, I stop watching, do the computer stuff, and next to her theme music is just catchy. So just to hear the theme music twice that night, yeah, Emmy.
I'm going to go with Rio keeping the title. She's tiny. They're going to make her like the underdog, build her up, and it'll be devastating when somebody
Awesome
huge
Kong
comes along and destroys her and takes the belt off her.
Have they had an Awesome Kong Riho moment yet?
Possibly in one of the Double or Nothing or something like that.
Could
Size
have been
difference between the two of them.
the Battle Royal?
Yeah,
I don't know.
potentially something like that. Double or Nothing or All Out. So we have 1 for Sakura, 3 for Rio to retain. Then it's the Young Bucks taking on former LAX members and now calling themselves Proud and Powerful. Your picks for this, Maloney?
I love both teams, but am I excited about this match? No. But because the inner circle aspect is there, I'm going to go inner circle, so Proud and Powerful. Daniel?
I'm going to pass on this one.
Steven?
I'm not excited at all. I think both teams have talent.
It's like Randy Orton, John Cena. It's like, you
Yeah.
know the guys are talented, but are you excited about the match? No.
I'm gonna go Proud and Powerful. The inner circle guys.
Yeah.
Ones with Jericho.
Sean?
I agree. And come on, how many times does the boss or CEO or whatever they want to be called, vice presidents of garbage recycling, whatever, the Young Bucks have to get over? Yeah,
Garbage recycling?
just threw that out there.
It's kind
It's
of
like they go to the same thing. The Meltzer driver, the super kick
Kicks.
party, like, oh, you're coming out cosplay. I like them. I think they're talented. They're the new version of the Hardy Boys, but
no. Let's not insult the Hardy Boys.
okay. But still, when the Office is winning, look, we've seen that happen in WWE. The Office winning things and people shit on it. We're going to crap on it again.
Yeah, but
So-
who was Cody's father, though?
Yeah, well, that's
They used to have a term called dusty booking.
yeah, and that's false finishes, giving a title and then giving it back the next day, which could happen actually tonight.
So is that the 2019 term? It's called garbage recycling now then?
Yeah, who knows?
Is that dusty booking is now garbage recycling?
You never know.
Like, you're going to see that trending on your fucking page this week, I tell you that much.
Okay, sounds good. But I'm going to go with Proud and Powerful. Which, then we have SCU, the Lucha Brothers, and Private Party facing off in a triple threat match for the AEW Tag Team titles. We saw that the finals of the Tag Team tournament was Lucha Brothers and SCU. Does Christopher Daniels somehow return finally after that injury that the Lucha Brothers did to him. And Private Party, well, they got third place in the tournament, so here's a triple threat. 3 teams, 1 set of tag titles. Who's taking them?
Steven?
I just want a medal. Like, clearly AEW gives medals to everyone. But I'm going... I would think you keep the titles on SCU because you just gave them to them 2 weeks ago. But I could also see the Lucha Brothers winning it, somehow screwing them. But I'm going to go SCU because it makes no sense to change the titles already.
I'm going to agree with that one because if you want the titles to actually mean anything in AEW, keep the titles on SCU. Otherwise, they're going to become joke championships.
Yeah, don't hot potato anything unless for some reason there is going to be a breakdown with SCU and the fact that Scorpio Sky took Daniel's place.
But I think that's too early.
They still have to keep that going. Slow burn things, guys. It is an obvious thing that's probably going to happen between the 3. Slow burn it. Keep the belts on SCU. And then, I don't know which order we want to do this. Do you want to do the title match or the It Doesn't Exist match?
The non-sanctioned match?
Do the non-sanctioned because at least the world title is entertaining.
Okay, so the non-sanctioned match, which apparently they're going to turn out the lights, then turn them back on and go, oh, here, have a match. And they're going to bring out the barbed wire wrapped broom and baseball bats and everything else. All the toys are going to come out. But it's Jon Moxley finally going against Kenny Omega.
Sorry, you got that name wrong. It's Kenny Olivier.
Okay.
If you follow Jim Cornette, again, that's another
Cornette reference. So, either way, Olivier, Kenny Omega against Jon Moxley. Steven, your pick.
I have to go with Moxley, even though I think this lights out non-sanctioned is a waste of... As much as I'm not an Olivier fan, he's got some sort of talent. This lights out, hardcore, really with no build, like storyline arc where it's gotta... That's the final battle. Makes no sense to me. Like, where do you go from here with these two? If this is like, so this is your final arc of this story, because if not, are they going to do a light each other on fire match next? Like, I don't understand where they go from here. But I'm going to go with Moxley.
Daniel?
I'll go with my first pick would be for the tag belts is I'm going Lucha Brothers. And then Moxley.
And Moxley. I'm going to go Moxley as well, simply because of the fact that huge superstar at AEW, that they need to transition into that huge superstar and to beat Omega. And I don't think the feud's going to end at this point, but I think it'll be like a slow burn maybe to the next match. Mox is one of the faces that should be of the company, especially after his promo a couple weeks ago. But anyways, Moxley for the win.
Alright, too, I'm going Moxley. Once again, why does the top guy have to, and especially office guy in the case of Kenny Omega, need to pick up a victory? It builds up people when they already are established as the greatest in the world or the best wrestler in the world, which a lot of people consider Omega to be. If somebody beats him, it builds them up. WWE already sent Moxley away with a huge build-up. Let's carry that going forward. Don't do a WCW thing like they did with Bret Hart, where Bret got given to WCW on a silver platter and WCW dropped the ball. AEW got Jon Moxley on a silver platter. Don't drop the ball and ruin his push just by giving him a loss to Omega. With it being lights out and not counting, it doesn't hurt Omega's win-loss record either. So that's another reason.
Let me ask Chris a question. Do you think this feud's going to continue? Where does it go? Because...
when I say continue slow burn style, I means that you'll eventually see the two of these guys fighting for the championship.
In a sanctioned match.
Now, whoever wins it first, I don't know, but if I were to take an educated pick, I would say Moxley eventually takes the title. Then all of a sudden you have Kenny Omega chasing it. And I see Kenny Omega being in AEW probably a year and a half before he finally gets that chance. So,
Would you say probably their next match shouldn't be at least 8 months to a year away?
I could honestly, yes, see that, but you can see probably the rub happening between the two guys probably over that next year. And you got to understand, too, what Sean was saying earlier with regards to Pac. Here's a guy who's fucking bitter. I mean, his nickname's the Bastard. And he's going to basically butt his way into things no matter, who's involved. So if he wants that championship, he's going to take that championship. So him and basically Moxley having a good match between the two of those guys, yeah. And then Omega will eventually come in. So how it plays out, I don't know. But I see, like I said, the continuance happening. And Omega eventually taking that title off of Moxley.
Okay. So
we're in Mitchell, by the way. I don't know how far away
Mitchell.
from Liz. I think it's pretty close.
We're
to
about
Listowel.
halfway.
So I guess everybody's going Mox on that one, and then main event time, eh?
Yeah. And that brings us to the world title, the AEW Championship on the line, as Chris Jericho taking on the American Nightmare, Cody.
They got a thrift store beside a Chinese restaurant. That's convenient.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you, Mitchell.
All right,
Anyways,
so beyond that randomness, Daniel, who's your pick for the main event?
Just to
Sorry,
throw in a
side
little
note.
bit more history with that, as we said, there was an amazing build-up with the 2 promos this week on AEW, and Cody said if he does not win the title, that he will no longer challenge for the AEW Championship because people don't like the whole office thing and them being always in control and being put into prominent spaces. So he doesn't want to continue that sort of image, I guess. And this will be his one and only title shot if he fails. So with that proviso, what do we got?
All right, now Daniel.
I'm going Jericho.
Jericho for
The win.
okay, so Jericho straight up.
I'm going Jericho, but I'm calling an MJF turn on Cody. It is the only way it makes sense. Or some sort of screwy finish where Cody's about to win and either MJF comes in and hits the ring and screws Cody with the ref distracted, or Inner Circle screws Cody. But I'm thinking MJF screws Cody and we have a feud between MJF and Cody, which could be money. But I'm going Jericho in a screwy finish.
Chris.
Yeah, I agree with that. MJF, the newest member of the Inner Circle. And I kind of almost immediately thought of Brandy maybe turning, but the fact is she already kind of has. She's going her own kind of way. So this is one of those things where Cody continuously loses everybody around him. There was a rift between him and Hangman Page a couple weeks ago on being the Elite. Brandy now is doing her own thing. MJF does his own thing tonight. And then Cody's left by himself, and then maybe we see a transition character of Cody. But I agree with you. Time being, MJF turns on Cody. Jericho retains. And then we see what happens with the Inner Circle that's coming Wednesday night with MJF being the newest member. Sean?
I do like your theories. We discussed this before we went live on Facebook here. But while discussing some of the things we have been discussing, did mention how the fact that Cody wants to do what sort of make up for what his daddy did in the past and do all these things that, restore the history of WCW or the NWA before it all went to crap and people started tuning out. And one of those things is the dusty finish. So, what better way is to have the Inner Circle still continue to be dominant, but some sort of brawl breaks out. MJF might still get involved, but I think still on behalf of Cody, with the referee distracted. Then Cody picks up the victory, and for whatever reason, Wednesday night on Dynamite, we have to take the title away from you, Cody, because it looks like MJF did something on your behalf to give you the title. And he gets the title given back to Chris Jericho. And because of that wonky finish, Cody gets away from that whole proviso of I will never challenge again at the same time that he's sort of painted himself into a corner with. And this is where he gets to honor Daddy with a dusty finish.
Conrad Kushman says, "Hey guys, how are things?"
Doing well, Conrad. How are things in Buffalo?
So you're predicting a dusty finish in this one?
Dusty finish. Cody walks out with the title, but hands it back on Wednesday.
Which I think would be the worst thing. Like we were talking about the tag titles playing hot potato. I know Jericho's had it longer, but not really.
The youngest AEW champion in history.
Exactly, but like it's only been 5 weeks on television. I think it's too early to change the title. I would love to see Cody lose and have to go on a 9-month to a year road to eventually get another title shot.
Oh yeah, like it'll be a while because he'll try to honor what he said on Dynamite this past week.
But I think we'll have a year with MJF and Cody Rhodes, or Cody, whatever. That is money.
Yeah, but you gotta build up that turn. It's only been how many weeks? You know, slow burn. AEW needs to learn those words. Slow burn.
They probably shouldn't have had a pay-per-view
this soon after launching.
Yes. So
Yeah.
they've kind of pigeonholed themselves into this. So kind of have to go to screw Cody out of it. I mean, they could do a dusty finish, and I think it makes them look bad.
It does look bad, but it's not surprising that they would pull something like that. But you get off the air with an emotional Cody holding on to that title, where his brother's right by his side and his best friend MJF all celebrating, and maybe Cody doesn't realize that MJF was what screwed his victory over until it's shown to him later on.
Didn't Cody already do that with the NWA title at one point?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
but it still then starts continuing to sow the seeds with MJF and Cody without the immediate trigger.
Chair shot to the head tonight. That's what's going on. MJF for the win.
I think chair shot or brass knucks.
Or the scarf. The scarf loaded with the brass knucks. There we go.
Well, that's, yeah.
That scarf's magic. That fucking thing you can punch through glass with.
I mean, I think that it was too early for them to do a pay-per-view. I think at least two of us agree that it's too early for them to do a pay-per-view without a solid build. I don't know.
They need to build stories and build characters before trying to present something else. It was great to do the other one-offs when it was more of just a special attraction, but when you have to do weekly TV, they should be doing quarterly pay-per-views and have had enough time to build up to make a payoff worthwhile.
I tell you this, they booked the show, what was it, January 1st or 2nd? The New Year's Day or it's New Year's Day. If they're going to do a New Year's Day show for Dynamite, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. Maybe had held off the pay-per-view till then. I mean, if you expect fans to show up on New Year's Day to come watch your show, give them that more, of an insight, an expectation level of, hey, this is going to be a major pay-per-view, and maybe we'll do it every year. I mean, friggin' New Japan does it, and they sell out friggin' Tokyo Dome, and now they're doing it back-to-back nights, so.
But even not as a pay-per-view, make that a major show to tune into on a holiday that people might not normally tune in, especially with also having probably Christmas Day off.
Well, think
so
about it
come
this way.
back with a punch.
Do you guys remember back in the day they used to do Survivor Series on American Thanksgiving?
Yep.
Yes.
And the hype for that was huge. And that's only when they had the 4 pay-per-views per year, so. Anyways, I agree with you guys. I think pay-per-view wise, they probably shouldn't have done it, November, whatever it is, 9th today, so. But I guess we'll see. But happy birthday, Chris Jericho.
It is his 49th birthday.
Yeah, youngest champion.
Still the youngest champion in AEW history, and the oldest champion in AEW history. Both accolades at the same time. Who else could do that but the GOAT, Chris Jericho.
But anyways, we're on our way to an indie show right now, missing AEW. So that's Sean's fault right there.
Hey, no, it's a good thing. We enjoy some
I
live
would much rather
action.
watch Midwest than AEW.
So we're going to
Daniel, we're looking at indie wrestling versus TV wrestling. What do you think? You excited to be going to the show?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. 4 guys in the car excited for this one. So
Midwestern Wrestling tonight at 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6. Don't forget, guy who's stacked lineup. You got, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, obviously you're a wrestling fan because you're watching this, but in people in the area, if you're
maybe
attending,
they just like your hat.
true, maybe. But if you're in the area, you got tag team matches, you got triple threat matches, you got women's matches, you got comedy matches, which is probably going to be
You got Tarek.
MJF, you got Tarek, you got triple threat match. It's all loaded in just 6 matches. You got Jordan James hyped up on Red Bull, needing his Snickers. You never know what's going to happen. It's the debut show, Midwestern Wrestling, tonight, Parkview Gardens. We'll be checking in later on. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Talk to you guys later.
Tyson Dukes is currently one half of the Smash Wrestling Tag Team Champions and one of the pillars of wrestling in Ontario. He's had a very impressive career over the past 2 decades, and it's only natural that aspiring wrestlers would want to learn from a veteran of his caliber. Since October of 2017, Tyson opened up the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory here in London, Ontario. Students learn all aspects of wrestling. The first graduates like Jim Strider, Violet Lee, and Jordan James are making their names for themselves on the indie scene. Whether you're a student or a supporter, you can now be a part of the club and purchase your own beautiful zip-up hoodie. They're just $40 up to extra large and $45 for larger sizes. Contact Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory directly on Facebook to order yours today. Hey wrestling fans, join me each and every Friday on our Facebook or YouTube channel for the production line. I stop by the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory and catch the stars of tomorrow being built today here in London. Tyson's been in business for the last 2 years, and we've already seen stars come out of the factory such as Violet Lee, Jim Strider, Alec Realm, Jordan James, the Wavemaker, Kyle Boone, the smartest man in wrestling, Michael Grayson, Cyrus Bowman, Rodney Matthews, and Tyson's own son, Ethan Dukes. Many more of the students of the future are seeing their way to the rings in arenas nearby you. You don't want to miss the production line, where you can see the beginnings happening today. On the production line, each and every Friday. Check us out on Facebook or YouTube.
Yo, this is Tarek. You listen to Scumbags of Wrestling. Punch, kick, chop, done.
Okay, so I got this recording. We are back with the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. We are heading home from Listowel, Ontario, after a great evening of action from Midwestern Wrestling. And once again, thank you to Doug and everybody else who was associated with MWW and putting on a great show and having us as their guests and all the hospitality they provided for us to be able to do live Facebook appearances. I hope people tuned in to those check-ins. We even had Jordan James going crazy on the after show. So basically, guys, your thoughts on the show, and we'll start running down also the matches.
Reds are better than blondes, I tell you that much.
Beer meaning as in the McLean's beer?
As in the McLean's beer. So, yes, first and foremost, thanks to promoter's name is Doug. Doug for the beers, and I'm sure Shiloh and Jordan James thank them as well. I had one of the red beers, the
Pale Ale?
Yeah, the Pale Ale at the show after the event was done. And then I had one of the blondes just at the bar that we were just at. The red's definitely better than the blonde, but thanks, Doug, and thanks for the recommendation of the country bar. We went there, had some wings and some gravy soup, but it was a good atmosphere. But it goes hand in hand with the show tonight. The show was absolutely amazing. Feels weird talking about the show and not having Jordan James jump in, but yeah, again, it's like I said, I'll be back for the second one for sure.
Yeah, he said we're definitely welcome back. He thanked us numerous times for all the promotional work we did on our side of things to get the word out for Midwestern Wrestling. See, it's going to be one of those things that you
Just
tongue tie, but you're going to remember it.
MWW.
Yeah, at Midwestern Wrestling. And so, Steve, what was your thoughts on today's show?
Overall, very good. The promoter, Doug, was very welcoming. The show overall, I would say, out of 10, would probably be a good solid 8 or 9. Can't really think of anything big that stood out to me. The crowd got into it pretty quick for being a first show. Lots of children, which was good to see. Overall, I was very impressed with the show.
Daniel, your thoughts on what we saw today?
For it being the first one, it was definitely really good. Can't wait to see what they have next.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of what we normally watch anyways with Smash, so that familiarity really helped out. And yeah, even the 3 talents that we didn't know, they definitely stood out and are memorable. We're getting passed by a big truck towing a Bobcat. So that sound that you may have heard was that. So let's start off with the show itself. What was our first match, Chris?
The UK Muscle versus the Muscle.
So yes, Ad Hutchinson taking on Ontario's own Muscle. And thoughts on that match with the Ontario Muscle pulling out the victory?
It was a good match. It was weird not seeing Violet Lee out there with the connection between the two of them. But UK Muscle, Ad Hutchison, definitely a good wrestler in shape. Their styles didn't click kind of at first, but as the match went on, they got the crowd behind them and stuff. I mean, the Muscle's entertaining to watch and still young, so a lot of room for him to grow.
He got his Bronco Buster in?
Yeah, he did get his Bronco Buster in, and whether face or heel, he's one of the good guys to see in the ring because he knows how to play up the crowd and he's getting better in the ring and stuff. So definitely a good first match for MWW.
And Hutchinson definitely played the heel, insulting the crowd from Listowel, so you get that heel heat with calling the town smelly and everything. Daniel, your thoughts on Muscle versus Ad Hutchinson?
Very entertaining first match.
Steven?
Definitely entertaining. Took the crowd a little bit to get into the talent. But once the crowd got into it, you could definitely see the guys' styles click at that point. Muscle, from the first time I seen him in the ring to now, has improved by leaps and bounds. Like Chris said, it was very weird to see Muscle out without Violet Lee. But overall, I was actually quite impressed with this match.
I think it goes to also show with what you pointed out is the fact that a good crowd can help a match become better. And that definitely was the case in this one because they were silent first, not knowing what to expect. Wrestling hasn't been in Listowel for a while, so unless they're making the travels to see something major like a WWE show, they're not really getting what local independent wrestling is like, and being able to see something that close up. And once they did get into it, that helped Muscle and Ad get into their match too.
I would be interested to see Ad again at another MWW show. It'll be interesting to see where they each go from here.
Very true. And second match was Violet Lee, who we just had mentioned was missing from the side of Muscle, taking on Divya. And so we got that actual pronunciation when Scott Hunter brought her out. And she has a Polynesian Fiji Island gimmick for herself. And she didn't want Violet with her chain there. But at the same time, she ended up trying to use her own shell necklace. Brad took it away from her. But while he was distracted with that, she ended up getting Violet's chain and hitting Violet with it and got the pin when Brad turned around. So, physical attraction basically went 50-50 booking on that. Daniel, as a fan of Violet Lee, what did you think of the match, and what did you think of your first appearance with Divya?
Match is really good, and with the first appearance of, you said, she definitely, the two of them work really good together.
And you got her autograph, I believe?
Yep.
So another one to add to your collection, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Running out of room.
Yep. Steven, your thoughts on the women's match?
I thought it was okay. I didn't think their styles meshed as well as I was hoping. I just didn't believe Divya as the heel. I thought the finish was an interesting way to finish the match. I would prefer to see whoever with Divya or Violet to win clean, but it was an okay match.
Chris?
Problem about the match itself is, and I don't know much about Divya, but I know Violet Lee has, less than 2 years of experience in the ring. So it is tough sometimes when you don't have that experience in the ring. If Divya has that experience, it definitely didn't show tonight. Two of them being in the ring, it was a good match, and it's always great to see Violet Lee, and it's weird because she's got the connection with the London fans, where she doesn't necessarily have that bond with the Listowel fans yet, but obviously doing the intermissions and the autograph signings and stuff like that, that's how she builds that character. Knowing that she's taking a break, maybe her mentality wasn't into the match as much, but again, women's wrestling existed on the show tonight, which was great. Finish was interesting. Brad played it up as a referee, as best he could. But at the end of the night, the fans are going to go away happy remembering that match for what it was, as far as the match goes, and not kind of picking it apart sometimes the way that we do as fans.
Yeah, Violet did have a little bit of a cheering section. There were some kids chanting for her. I think they were the same kids that we missed actually pointing out started cheering for the Muscle, but calling him, what was it, Mr. Goldbelt? Or
yeah, something to do with Gold Belt. I have it written down, but not in front of me. But they would chant Gold Belt Daddy or something like that.
So yeah, the kids were starting to get into it, but Violet came up a little short in this match. Then, before intermission, we had the tag team titles from Smash Wrestling on the line with the Revolt, Jordan James and Alec Realm, challenging Halal Beefcake, Idris Abraham, and Joe Coleman for those titles. Really good match. There were so many moments where it looked like they actually were the Revolt, meaning they, pronouns pal. It looks like they were going to actually take the titles away from Halal Beefcake, surprise the audience, do a switch without the TV cameras running for Smash Wrestling. But in the end, Beefcake did prevail. They're still the tag team champions, but it looks like the Revolt is on just that edge of being that next team to take those titles from the Halal Beefcake. So your thoughts on the match overall, Steven?
I thought that this match was probably the match of the night. Halal Beefcake is, if not one of the most entertaining tag teams I've seen in the longest time. Now, I am going to put a prediction. I think the Revolt win the Smash Tag Team titles next year from Halal Beefcake. I think they've showed it tonight that they were like inches away from winning that title, the tag titles. I think Jordan James and Alec Brown will be the next Smash Tag Team champions in 2020.
Interesting prediction. Daniel, your thoughts on the tag team title match?
I enjoyed it. I would have to say they probably would be my second favorite match of the night.
And your first being?
Tyson, Swab, and Von Bergamo.
The triple threat. Awesome. So we'll talk about that as we start getting towards the end of the show. But Chris, what's your thoughts on the tag team title match?
I actually had one of those holy shit moments that this is actually going to happen, where Halal's going to lose the titles. And then when it didn't happen, I think Idris had, made the save because Coleman was getting pinned. I was thinking, wait a second. And this is kind of outside the wrestling ring, but the fact is they bring a show to Listowel, Ontario for the very first time. Intermission hasn't happened yet. What's a better opportunity than have Halal Beefcake with those tag titles selling their merch and doing the interaction thing? I was thinking, because you've seen it tons of times in Smash Wrestling, so to me, it just, seeing them do an interaction now without those tag titles wouldn't have made sense. So, like I said, I had one of those outside the ring moments where I was thinking, they can't do the autograph signing going into intermission without those belts. So, as soon as that pinfall didn't happen, and like I said, he just had broken it up, I was like, okay, yeah, well, Halal's going to hang on to it. Whether or not it happens before the end of the year, or whether or not it happens next year, definitely see the Revolt winning the tag titles. And it's going to be exciting because of the fact you'll see how far they have come from the moment they stepped into the Wrestling Factory to becoming Smash Tag Champs. So whether or not it happens to St. Thomas, if it doesn't happen then, I see exactly what Steven had said, probably early next year.
Yeah, they have another opportunity at those titles in just 2 weeks in St. Thomas. It'll be a triple threat match, adding Tarek and Brent Banks, so you got some more high-flying and hard-hitting added to that match. I'm not sure if Smash is going to be bringing their cameras. They said the last time they were in St. Thomas that they were going to bring the cameras, so it's up in the air. We'll have to find that out. It'd be cool if they did end up doing so and end up having that match and with the titles on the line switching in St. Thomas if they bring the TV cameras with them. If not, well, I do see them in 2020. So that took us to an intermission. You can check out all the stuff that went on around us during that on our Facebook page. And there was Halal Beefcake right beside us. They kind of popped in and out of that whole conversation Chris and I had. Second half of the event started with Karu, who probably only because the name Haku was taken, he had to go with that name because it was pretty much a younger version of Haku, taking on Psycho Mike Rollins. Mike went around the ring, went backstage, came back out, did the whole Mike Rollins thing, hyped up the crowd, who was already still on a high from the first half. He had some interaction with Matt, the referee, trying to distinguish translate what Karu was trying to say, if he was ready to wrestle or not. They were on the outside, pounding Karu's face onto the ring canvas well over 20 times. Fun match, as you would expect any time from a Psycho Mike Rollins match, and Mike picked up the victory. Daniel, your thoughts on the Psycho Mike Rollins Karu match?
I thought it was an okay match.
Chris?
Short and simple right there. It was a good match. Again, you kind of want to see the connection that somebody like Psycho Mike is going to make with the crowd. And when he first came out, they're not particularly aware of what kind of entrance he has and the way he throws his arms up and stuff like that. But I mean, he is one guy who knows how to work that crowd and get them invested in him and the match itself. So Mike went over pretty much, with his finisher there. I'm not sure the name of it, but the interaction with the crowd, the interaction with the ref, and the interaction with I see the guy more Karu, is that his name? Karu more like a Congo Kong than say Haku, but I can definitely see the similarity there. But would have rather seen Karu go over, but I mean, if there's going to be a long-term thing, seeing Midwestern wrestling take place, then sure, why not? Psycho Mike is going to be one of those guys that kids and fans are going to be excited to see. So definite promise with the two guys in the match as far as longevity goes for the, like I said, MWW.
Steven, your thoughts on the Psycho Mike Karu match?
It was okay. I agree with Chris. I would have liked to see Karu go over. I get why Mike went over. It did take a while for them to get Psycho Mike. Once the kids got it, they got it. But it was just it was the perfect match to come back from intermission.
Start a second half, yeah. I definitely see that. And once the crowd does start to get to know these characters, they are going to start sticking with them and be just like any other organization where you have your regular guys that you look forward to seeing each and every time, whether they win or lose. So that took us to the first half of our main event, which had Kyle Boone with his lifeguard, Josh Pine by his side, taking on former Smash Wrestling champion Tarek, and he had local star talent, celebrity, and Chris Kurtz by his side to try and neutralize the interference potentially by Josh Pine. So in the end, a lot of hard hitting, some high flying. Pine tried to get involved, got taken out of the equation by Kurtz, and Tarek picked up the victory. So your thoughts, Chris, on that match?
Well, I tell you this, and you can go back probably about a year ago and find me talking about Kyle Boone and how much I was impressed by him, and now he's starting to put it all together. So he had, to me, that natural ability, that natural talent, and now that he's got this character development underway, and I mean, he's what the heck? Oh, he's looking the part. He's definitely getting there as far as his ability in the ring goes as well, and it doesn't hurt him being in the ring with a guy like Tarek. He took Tarek's best shots, and he's still standing. But anyway, long story short, it was a good match between Tarek, who I would call a veteran at this point, and Kyle Boone, who again I think has got a long career ahead of him. And this wave maker gimmick, if it turns out to be something else, at least he's tried to develop a character with regards to a persona, and he's got t-shirts, and he believes in this persona, and it's part of the I guess the breeding that Tyson Dukes is doing with these guys. So I mean, you've seen it with Jordan James and Alec Realm as well, and Violet Lee. So props for a good match. And again, Tarek, I mean, if the one thing fans are going to remember him by tonight is he was a stiff worker, and holy crap, like, the guy gets high with his kicks. He bounces off those ropes, or the guy sitting on the top turnbuckle, and he's able to hit him right in the face with his kick. Here's a guy with talent. Here's a guy who's also probably, 2 hours sleep because he just got back from Vegas as well. So definitely, the sky's the limit for, like I said, Kyle Boone, and Tarek is always going to be one of my favorites. So props for Midwestern for putting this wrestling match on tonight.
Daniel, your thoughts on the first half of the main event, Boone and Tarek?
I'll agree with Chris. It was a good match.
Short and sweet.
Steven?
I think this was probably the second best match of the night. I remember seeing Kyle Boone's first match at the London Music Hall as a student, and sitting there watching him, you could just see the talent come out of all the students. He's improved by leaps and bounds. I mean, he took probably 15 of Tarek's chops, and I'm not sure how he's still breathing, because we saw his chest after the show, and it was black and blue and all swollen, and that just looked painful. I think Tarek in 2020, as much as this is going to suck to say, moves on to bigger and better things, probably down in Orlando at the Performance Center, because he has that talent.
Yeah, it'd be a good loss. I mean, great loss for the independent wrestling scene here in Ontario. But at the same time, he did have one of those tryouts during SummerSlam weekend for WWE, and he was even featured in the video. So whether there's an NXT Canada or, as you just said, going down to Orlando, there is a bright future for Tarek.
He was also down to Orlando for something he never once mentioned why he was down there, though.
Well, it could have been PC.
So you never know. I agree with that, though. It'd be a good loss, I guess, as you call it.
Bad for the indie scene, but good for him to be able to advance to there. And hey, we can always say we saw him win.
More room for Kevin Bennett.
Yes, but Kevin Bennett's on the cusp of that. As we saw earlier this year, he went against Andrade. So it's not just like he's a jobber. He's got been looked at least by WWE.
And the bitches know his name.
Yep. And so that takes us to our main event of the evening. Triple threat, Von Vertigo taking on two members of the Pillars, the endorsement Sebastian Suave, and the wrestling machine Tyson Dukes. As I said in the Facebook posting, this match had the technical skills and hard hitting of Tyson Dukes mixed with the high flying and quick striking of Von Vertigo, balanced out by the cheap shots and everything else in between of Sebastian Suave. So it was a well-balanced match. Vertigo flying everywhere. In the end, though, Tyson made his Pillars partner, Sebastian Suave, tap out. Then he got on the microphone, thanked everybody for being there, thanked the promoters, thanked the sponsors, and expressed how he wants to be back there each and every time that Midwestern Wrestling puts on a show, regardless of where it is, whether it's Listowel or any other area like Wingham. He's there. All he has to do is get that phone call. So basically, he was the voice of the whole promotion at the end, and he definitely has that experience to be that voice, and he's a great poster promoter for independent wrestling. Steven, your thoughts on the triple threat match?
I liked it, actually. Wouldn't be in my top 2 matches of the night, but I liked it still. I'd love to see Dukes go for the 10 pounds of gold for the NWA title. I think that would be an interesting match with Nick Aldis. Sebastian Suave tonight again proved why he's got to be in my top 5 favorite wrestlers that I've seen this year. That the endorsement gimmick kills me, and I love it. Von Vertigo keeps growing on me more and more this year that I've seen him. He reminds me of Carter Mason. From last year, I didn't get the gimmick to start with, but the more you see it, the more you get it. And I'm expecting big things from Von Vertigo in the new year, in 2020.
If I remember right, he might be also current Barry Wrestling champion. So,
believe so.
Daniel, your thoughts on the triple threat match?
Definitely my top match of the night.
Match of the night? And Chris?
Yeah, it was a good match, but I mean, you basically got three veterans of the Ontario independent scene, and it's funny because we're at that bar, and all of a sudden I'd seen, I was just on Facebook briefly, and there was a picture of Sebastian that came up on my phone of what he used to look like when he first started. I was like, holy crap, he's come a long way. Tyson, obviously, he's come a long way as well, and I mean, for him to be on the mic at the end of the show for a company's first, card was it was a good way to end the show, especially with a guy like Tyson, who's he's the godfather of Ontario indie as far as I go. So whether or not he ends up going to NWA, getting that exposure, and see you later Tyson for a good reason, so be it. But fact is, a lot of kids out there are going to remember seeing Tyson Dukes. They're going to hear the backstory eventually about Tyson Dukes training some of these guys on the show, and we're talking about it and how someday down the road Jordan James could be training some of these kids, someday. So again, you've got two of the hardcores of the Ontario indie scene that are gifted in a lot of different ways, Sebastian and then Tyson, and then Von Vertigo, who I'm still getting to know. Obviously Fight or Flight is a tremendous tag team, but he's showing that he can mix it up as a singles wrestler as well. So good main event, good finish. Promoter had come up to me right after the main event was done, like literally seconds. He goes, good finish. I was like, hell yeah. So props to them for ending the show right, and again, it's a good way to have fans come back remembering that main event going into a second show whenever that does happen.
Yeah, send them home happy is the best way of doing it. Unlike some other promotions we've seen where the heel goes over and everybody's up in arms, or a wonky finish and people are not wanting to come back. They definitely want people to come back for the next show and made sure that was possible. However, you pointed out, both of you, that the fact that Tyson is trying to get the attention of Billy Corgan and everybody involved with the NWA to go after Nick Aldis. He is very old school, loves the catch as catch can style of wrestling, the chain wrestling, and wants to highlight that on a throwback type show like NWA Power. Even if he goes there, I don't see that we would end up losing him from the scene, because they do multiple tapings in their studio style. And if you also see currently, Colt Cabana is everywhere, whether he's working for NWA and appearing on Power, he's doing New Japan, he's doing Ring of Honor, the guy's all over the place. So if Colt Cabana can do it, there's nothing saying that Tyson Dukes can't do it either. So
boom, boom.
Exactly. But I'd like to see Tyson get that attention, get that shot at the 10 pounds of gold, and he's got the experience and deserves to at least have that run in something major. So that concludes everything for this event. Midwestern Wrestling, Listowel, Ontario, November 9th. It's going to go down in history. The winner of the main event was Tyson Dukes, the winner of the first match ever for their company, The Muscle. Interesting contrast from one end of the stick to the other, but it's down in the history books now. Look forward to some of the videos on our Facebook page. I do have permission to load them up. I did record all the matches, so you can see what you missed. And the next time Midwestern Wrestling hits the ring, be sure to get a ticket and support these guys. They're definitely worth the drive, wherever they are.
So I get a question for everybody. So their second show see any local independent from Toronto down to come in for the first time for MWW, who do you guys want to see?
Toronto down?
Yeah.
Brent Moneybanks.
I'm going to go a little higher than Toronto, but I'm going to the King City. I want to see the King of the North, Carter Mason.
Good choice.
Daniel, who do you want to see booked on the next show?
I'm going to have to go with Sean's pick.
So 2 for Brent Banks. And myself, I'm going to go female base. I'm going to say bring in Jody Threat. I think the fans will get a kick out of her.
Some Jody Threat, yes. Maybe even some Casey Spinelli.
Oh, Spinelli, yeah. I don't think they can handle Spinelli. Spinelli would have to keep it PG. I don't know if that's possible.
She'd have to be on her best behavior.
2 scoops. What's that she say? What to do?
Yeah, 2 scoops, what to do?
What to do? But anyways, yeah, so if you're listening to Midwestern, see, I can say it every now and then perfectly, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, mess it up. But MWW, if you're listening, there's some of the thoughts that maybe for the next shows. But, again, talent for this show was stacked, so props to you for that.
So that's... Thanks for joining me for part 1 of episode number 80, where we took that road trip to Midwestern Wrestling in Listowel and ran down everything that happened during that show before and after. Now stay tuned and check out episode 80 part 2 when we discuss everything that happened at AEW Full Gear, NWA Power, Impact Wrestling, and the week in WWE.
Granted, I understand it's essentially the same unappreciative crowd full of scumbags from last night.
It's so unjustly, you've gotta trust me. Through all this journey, I can't help but condescend. I feel the touching, it's so unloving. I think it's carving her name into my head. Name into my head. It's taking over me, and I can hardly breathe. I need a problem solver, someone to cure my sorrow.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.